children 12 and older are legally allowed to work in farms. And then this lady who's like an advocate's like, okay, so we went to the farm and the 10-year-old was like, why is there a 10-year-old working if the age was 12? That's what I'm saying. Oh, well, we need it. You know, we need somebody to be picking the vegetables. Somebody's got to do it. So why not children? You don't have to pay them as much. Welcome back to There's No Way That's True podcast. And today we have a pretty heavy subject. So it's a little twist in our regular. I'm excited about it. And if you have not seen my update, if you're wondering why I have not been posting lately, it's not for not wanting to do it. We've had some issues with copyright stuff. We had like gotten our intro song with the wrong email when we purchased the copyrights, and so the videos got taken down. And then we had another one where we were censored because we were, I guess, spreading. What was it, Jamie? What was it we were spreading? What was it? Late was like health. We were supposedly spreading like fake health misinformation because funny little me made a joke about, what was it, bleach curing COVID? Is that what it was?
Drinking bleach to cure COVID.
Yeah. You know, also it's America. Like, if you want to drink bleach, like, and if I believe that bleach cures my COVID, I should be able to say that. But apparently it's dangerous. So that video was censored. We tried to do an appeal because when I said the comment, it was 100% a joke, but dry humor doesn't make it through AI, I suppose. And the video was blocked or whatever you want to call from being public. We tried to do appeals. Was it once or twice? 2 times we tried to do appeals. It did not work. So we ended up just having to go in and edit the video. But we're learning as we go, you know. I'm sure something similar will happen again. But if you hear noises in the background of my video today, it's a little cold outside and I have my ducklings. Can you bring me the duckling? Bring me Blondie. Juicy's going to bring me Blondie. I have ducklings that my daughter incubated and hatched, and they're so cute, but we didn't think about them hatching in the wintertime, which, you know, poses a little bit of an issue. So now there are studio ducklings, and they get a little boisterous. So let me see. Oh my God. Okay. This is Blondie. Hi, Blondie. Your first appearance on the podcast. Oh, she's freaking out. She doesn't like it. She's camera shy. Shh. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. She loves when you sing to her. She's a sweetheart. So if you hear her in the background, it's just her chillaxing. She eats well, there's 3 of them. She's the sweetest. Thank you. So I hope you appreciated that little pet segment. We should start adding that in every week, just the pet segment. But yeah, so that's why we haven't been posting videos like as frequently as we were before. We're trying to kind of get back on track and go from there. And if you haven't watched my last episode, which is the one that got censored, it is up and live. Go watch that episode. It's so fun. My sister Sarah was on it with me, and it was a really interesting episode. We talked about Mark Grennan, who had during COVID been selling this crazy COVID cure, and we knew him growing up. Actually, it was, you know, like national news. It was really, really fun episode. So go back and watch that one. And I'm excited about her being on future episodes also. So today I want to talk about a subject I'm really passionate about. I sometimes get a little too worked up about it. So I'm going to like try to share this information. It's a lot of information also. And so I'm going to try to do it not being too scatterbrained and being calm, being chill, not getting worked up. I can't promise it's going to be that way the whole time. But that's my hope, because I want to just share the data, share the information, and hopefully hear back from you guys that are listening on what you think about it. So I want to talk about migrant farmers in the U.S. This has been something that's been a thing, an issue, I guess I should say, like concerns around it since the 60s. But it's a current day thing. I have been interested and concerned about it, I would say, for maybe 7 or 8 years. I didn't really know much about it before then. And so I want to share this information because I talk a lot about the things I'm passionate about, and I would estimate that probably 80% of the people in person that I've had conversations with that I brought up the topic of migrant farmers and how it works in the U.S. These are the migrant farmers are just like the majority of the people that are picking and working our farm fields in the U.S. And they're mostly, I'm going to pull it up actually. I can tell you the exact data because I want to give correct information. Okay. As of 2019, I guess they don't update this very often, 57% of workers in crop production were immigrants. So higher than half of our farm workers are immigrants. That's how we're getting food on our tables. Whole nother subject. It doesn't. We'll continue on that. But migrant farmers have a really interesting kind of route how they're set up, and most of the people that I talk on this subject, most Americans, they're not aware of what's happening behind the scenes. They're like, oh, I just go to the grocery store and I buy broccoli, or I just go to the grocery store and I buy this. No, there's like so much happening in the background that is really sad. That's really wrong, and should honestly make you more skeptical of the government. So I want you to be someone that now knows this, so then you can go forward and have knowledge. You just need to know these things. You need to know where your food comes from. You need to know what's behind it, who's picking it, what is happening, what are their living conditions. It's good information to know. It will make you think a little more when you go to the store. Maybe even if you're not able to change where you buy your produce or how you buy your produce, if you can at least think about it a little more when you do buy it, maybe appreciate it a little bit more. And so I want to start with first, let's look at this video that is just a basic idea of migrant farm workers, kind of how their setup works. Let's watch this.
Hello everyone. Today we will continue to the farms in the United States to see how the process of harvesting thousands of tons of fruit and vegetables happens. The first place we will see in this video is a large vineyard in the San Joaquin County in California. Between August and October each year is the time when tens of thousands of workers flock to the vineyards in California to harvest.
This is
the average wage for each of these workers is about $17 an hour.
That's pretty high compared to the most.
According to statistics released in 2021, the total area of vineyards in the state of California is 895,000 acres.
So that's
of
like
which
August
up to
October,
73%
they're in the vineyards. Let me see.
In 2020, U.S. chili production is about 325,000 tons.
Whatever. It gives you so I'll just tell you it because I'm not lying. I have 95 links open right now. And to not take up too much of your time, I'll explain. Migrant farm workers go on a route. I don't know the route, so I'm making this up for just explanation details. They'll start, let's say they start in Texas in January, and whatever crop is happening at that point, they're working, let's say this crop, I'm making one up. Let's say they're doing chili peppers are from January to March. So they'll be in Texas January to March. Obviously, that's not enough work to sustain you for the entire year. So you actually find crops that, then March to June, we have, lettuce, tomatoes, onions. So let's follow where they follow the harvest. And so on average, migrant farm workers, unless they get a very comfortable kind of situation where they have crop that they can do and then another job that they can stay in one place. They're typically moving like 3 times a year, sometimes more, following the harvests. Obviously, this poses a whole myriad of issues and what's the word I'm looking for? Struggles, because complications, because you're moving so many times during the year with your children. So that's kind of like a migrant farmer. That's what they are. They're like migrating around and following the farm patterns. So what I really want to touch on is not only that, like these working conditions are really rough in some places. The housing, because often the farms will provide housing, and the housing will just be absolutely, what is the word I'm looking for? Just not acceptable housing. Like no one should be living in these houses, or they'll have way too many people living in one of these houses. I've heard firsthand stories of people that work with migrant farmers that they're essentially like, you know, those sheds you get from Home Depot. They're just like sheds that, you know, they'll put like a bathroom in it or something. Really bad living conditions, very poor. They'll have many people living in one little small area. So these migrant farm workers, on average in the U.S., they make about $14 an hour. It's not good for the type of work you're doing. You know, you can make more money working at like McDonald's than working in a field like is much more laborious. But there's some like fall throughs that people get through is because the child labor laws don't apply to agriculture in the U.S. So this is like the big subject I want to get on. Now that you kind of have an idea what are migrant farmers, also that 57% of our crops are harvested by migrant farmers, for you to understand actually how important migrant farmers are. There's actually a huge concern right now that with all these deportations, if they're going to deport the migrant farmers, there's not going to be anyone harvesting all of these produce. So farms are going to have to raise their wages, because obviously documented, because many of these are undocumented, or they're on it's like an H-2A visa, which is a temporary agriculture visa, which means you can work and be in the U.S. legally, but only work in agriculture. These people will take whatever wage because they're very desperate for work. Most people are not going to accept the wages. So then there's, you know, this concern that food prices are going to go way higher than they already are, apart from the fact that they won't be able to get enough staff quickly enough to even harvest it. So then there will be a lot of food loss. And I know that even currently the current government administration has been saying like, okay, we're not going to be able to target farms because we can't afford it. So that's how important these migrant farmers are for actually providing food for our country. So the children is what I'm like, the big subject that I really want to talk about is that our food is being harvested, the food that we are eating in the U.S. by children, actual children, because the U.S. Labor laws are, no one under the age of 14 is allowed to legally work paid wages. And some states are even as high as 16 years old. But these ages don't apply to agriculture. And again, most of the people working in agriculture are immigrants or from other countries, primarily Mexico. And so they're all coming here with their with their farm visas, and they're with their children, and their children are allowed to work as well. And there's no oversight. Like it's crazy that children as young, like in some states, like Michigan, for an example, it's legal for children as young as 9 to be working for wages on a farm. Do you not think that's crazy?
Yeah.
Just have like 9-year-olds, and this is not easy work. Like this is very physically strenuous, and more than anything is the danger behind it. So in the U.S., I'm going to pull you up some statistics, so it's not just me speaking out my ass. Oh, it's dangerous. I actually have how dangerous it is. Okay. Like I said, I have 95 tabs open. Okay, so actually I'm going to give you a little more than just that data. I'm going to give you that the estimates are hard to tell because sadly, a lot of these children are not documented. They're not in school, so they actually don't kind of really know they're here sometimes. Or also some children that are not supposed to be working are still working, which we'll talk about. Like a lot of these big farms, like these big U.S. farms that employ these children illegally, like the ones that are even younger than 9. So the estimates are not exact, but it's between 300 and 500,000 child farmers currently working in the U.S. That is crazy. That's almost unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like there could be currently up to 500,000 children working on farms for paid wages. And so let me pull up. Yeah, it's like a 2006 study reported 307. Then there was a 2012 study that reported between 300 and 500. So there's at least 300,000. That's for sure. And so the danger of it. So every 3 days, a child dies working in agriculture. Every 3 days. The numbers are even higher if you include adults. Like the danger working on these farms, because these farms are not even keeping their stuff up to standard. The government, I believe, my personal opinion, is that what I'm supposed to say? To guard myself? My personal opinion is that the government gives these people a pass. They're not really going in and because they know that they need we need the food. They can't shut down these farms because that's like what we're eating in America. And so it's very dangerous. Many of these farms are not up to code on safety standards. Like farmers are supposed to have certain type of equipment and safety, things, and they're not even provided with the correct tools that they need to do stuff properly. So the numbers for adults, I don't have it in front of me. It was very high. But I'm talking about children. 1 child dies in agriculture every 3 days, and 33 children are injured every single day in agriculture. Like, this is not, like, I don't know if the seriousness of this, if I'm portraying it well, is that the food that we're eating is being harvested by a child in many cases. There's a big chance that the actual food that you're buying in the store was harvested by a child. And every 3 days, one of those children are dying directly related to harvesting that food. How is that allowed? Or why is that not like on every headline? Like we have these dumbass headlines that nobody cares about, like, but real things like this that everyone like should be upset about. Like, you can't tell me, like, I don't care what political spectrum you're on. You have to be a crazy person to not care that there's children harvesting food and dying, harvesting the food that is being sold in our grocery stores. That's not okay. So let's watch this video. It just honestly, it's a sad name, but it's called Children of the Fields. It just gives kind of a basic idea of what these children are doing on a daily basis. $200 million children
There are
worldwide
between
working.
400,000 and 500,000 children under the age of 18 that perform farm work in this country. They come from all backgrounds, all walks of life. They work in various crops that are susceptible to hand harvesting, which is the majority of the food that we eat. Pretty much the gamut of the kinds of foods that we put on our tables may have been picked by children. Most Americans would be shocked to learn that those kids are not protected as well as children working in any other industry. Federal law prohibits anybody under 14, in most cases under 16, from working for wages. In agriculture, they are exempt from that coverage. Kids as young as 12 can work in agriculture, in some cases younger than that.
Yeah, because there's states that like legally as low as the age of 9.
On some days, it feels as if I was in an oven.
12 years old.
They can work in a 95-degree or 100-degree field 8 hours a day, 6-7 days a week during the summer, and we think that that is inappropriate in America in 2008.
Adiós, ayúdame porque no quiero estar aquí.
We think of farm work as kind of an idyllic situation where you're out in the fresh air, enjoying the rich earth and the fruits of your labor. But the truth is, when it's a job, you're exposed to extremely hazardous conditions under difficult working situations.
I prefer to die because I don't want to be there working in the fields.
These are like slaves. They're working up to 7 days a week, 8 hours a day. Because if it's summertime, they can work up to 8 hours a day.
They happen to be working in the most dangerous occupation in America. Mm-hmm. Agriculture exposes children to dangerous pesticides, sharp tools.
Well, yeah. So I was watching this other interview. I'm not able to use it on the video, but there was this young girl, I don't know, maybe 13 or something. She was very young. And she was talking about how when they're in the fields working, literally the pesticide is being sprayed while they're out there. And they're just told like, oh, just put like a towel above your face. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you're pouring poison on top of children in fields? I mean, adults too, which is not acceptable, but children.
They're getting showered.
They're getting like, and whenever they would like, she said, well, whenever they come and ask the farmers are like, oh, well, we sprayed it in the field that was beside the field they were working in. And the girl was like, yeah, but it's like right beside us and the wind blows. And she's like, you literally feel it blow on top of you. And like, this is poison. Stuff that literally says, that can cause cancer. It can do all these things. And they're like spraying it on top of children.
Kinds of equipment that they really have no business being around it.
Yeah, like these huge shears that they're using to cut stuff, like they'll cut off their fingers.
Aerial sprayers come by.
Look at that.
And spray a field. And if you happen to be unlucky enough to be there when it happens, you're sprayed directly with pesticides.
We were working in a beet field, and a plane flew right over us and sprayed.
This is unacceptable. I'm already getting upset. Farm workers are exposed to 1 billion pounds of pesticides per year. I don't even walk down the pesticide aisle of the store. I'm like, I'm scared. Oh my God. Birth defects. More than 100,000 children are injured each year.
Kids often don't dress properly for the job that they have to do, so they'll go out into a field barefoot. You get a little cut. Pesticides infect that cut.
Yeah.
Pretty soon you've got damaging infections that you wouldn't have had in any other situation.
People, this is like 2025. This isn't 50 years ago.
I have been working in the fields with my broken toe.
I got hit with the machete right in my knee. Like I hit it right there.
La hoja te pegaba en el ojo y te hacía bien feo el ojo y más dolía mucho y pues.
In addition, they're using sharp tools. We've talked with kids that are cutting onions, for example, in Texas and Colorado. They're using incredibly difficult tools that endanger them, not to mention
this kid looks like 4 years old.
Enormous machines that can destroy a person.
He's like walking beside a huge, like he could just get run over by that tractor. 20% of all farm work fatalities are children in the United States.
A 2-year-old child was killed in an orange orchard in Florida. Her 10-year-old brother was working with the rest of the family.
Wait,
he was driving.
I love how they're like, children 12 and older are legally allowed to work in farms. And then this lady who's like an advocate's like, okay, so we went to the farm and the 10-year-old was like, why is there a 10-year-old working if the age was 12? That's what I'm saying. And I'll show like these farms that have been cited for children as young, like they actually found, I know that there's more of them, but that they actually found 6-year-olds out in fields working. 6-year-olds.
In a pickup truck, that was hauling the trailer of oranges, and he didn't see his 2-year-old sister get out of the truck and slip in between the truck and the trailer. And so she was
I'm sorry.
run over and
The 2-year-old was killed. Why the hell was the 2-year-old out in the field? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy. Why was there a 2-year-old all day long being out in the field? And that happened. Like, I've even heard, looked at these interviews of women saying that they're literally taking their infant babies out with them, like strapped on them in baby harnesses or whatever while they're working. First of all, that's horrible. But secondly, is like, the babies are getting exposed to all those poisons, babies. And so I was reading this report about the amount of farm children that have all these pulmonary issues. They have asthma and all these like weird stuff that, you know, no one's going to admit it, but obviously it's the pesticides. They're being sprayed with poison.
and killed.
I'm going to link, the average income from a migrant family is $15,000. That's what I'm telling you is that, you know, they try to say, oh, they're getting fair wages like $14 an hour. I bet what it is, like, remember, Giuseppe, you've had similar experiences when you moved here, and many people that I know personally, is like they give you a set daily rate.
Yeah.
And they work you as much as you want. But on the papers, they say, oh, you're getting an hourly rate of $14 an hour because I'm paying you, I don't know, $400 a week. And they're saying that you're only but you're really working 8 to 12 hours a day. They just say, hey, I'll pay you $100 a day and you work from sun up to sundown. I know this, like, I'm not saying I think this is what happens. I know personally this is what many, many businesses do. I know for a fact that they're saying, oh, this person's making this much hourly, so they're compliant with the state, and the undocumented worker feels that they have no voice. And obviously, in many cases, they actually don't because they can't report it. And if they do, they could get in trouble themselves. And they're not. They're making like way, way below minimum wage. So that's what I think is funny is that they're saying the average, because the data says the average migrant worker is making a little over $14 an hour. They work 8 to 12 hours a day. How much money would that be? I'm sorry. Let me pull this up. Let's say they're only working 8 hours a day. Let's say 8 and let's say 14 instead of like $14.50 or whatever it was. Times. And they work 7 days a week, right?
Yeah.
As I said, it said that the adults, the children might not. That would be $3,100 a month. Oh, what did I do? 3,100 times that would be $37,000 a year per family member that was working. I mean, these people are living it up. They're bringing household incomes of over $100,000 a year with only 3 people. That's bull. The average migrant family, and you know, this was like 6 years ago, so I'm sure it's a little higher now, but not that much higher, of $15,000. The family. That's like way below poverty line. But guess what? Because they're undocumented, even though they're here legally on their migrant farm visas, they're undocumented, so they don't qualify for government benefits.
Is extremely low paid. In fact, I would challenge anybody to find a lower paid sector.
And
of
these,
our
like these
economy.
houses, this is, I'm
Often
glad that it
people
shows this on
can't
this video. I didn't get to this part
anything
earlier, or I didn't
close
see
to a
it.
living wage, not even to
That's
the federal
where
poverty
these
level.
people are living.
That gives them an incentive to try and get as many hands out there as possible to bring in a little bit more money.
Como trabajador de migrante, pienso que no es suficiente el pago que están dando.
And so the temptation is, if you've got
To
an
have all your
11-year-old
kids work.
who's able-bodied, what the heck?
Okay, I'm just getting upset. I'm gonna link all these videos so you guys can watch them yourselves. But I just don't understand how this type of abuse is just completely legal, because it's the most craziest thing. So think about it. They're like, okay, you can come here with this special visa because we need someone to pick our food for free, essentially, because we don't want to pay anyone. So you're here legally if you have your H-2A visa. We're not going to pay you very much. You're going to have horrible living conditions, and you don't get the benefit that Americans or documented immigrants get. The only benefit you get is you can work as a slave, essentially, for almost no income. This is crazy. That's crazy. Does that not upset you?
Yeah.
Like, I'm so upset right now. And they're dying. The children are dying. Like, these are child slaves that we're importing from other countries. And I love how the government in the U.S. and all, media, everyone's always talking about, like these, and I'm not condoning them. I know that they exist and it's horrible and it's completely wrong, but they often like to put, like these factories in India or in China where they have like all these children working. And was it iPhone that's always accused of these horrible like factories? And I'm like, yeah, those are wrong, like 100%. But what about here in our own country where not only is it happening, but it's 100% legal? Look at this video. I saw this video the other day when I was looking at. Like, this is just to show you, like, these are what these kids are actually doing with their life. Like, apart from the fact that they're dying and they're barely getting paid, like, this is their life. They don't want to do it. Look at that. He's like, all of these kids are barefoot out there working and like. So this actually, this, like I said, this has been a thing for a very, very long time. Honestly, I think what happened was, I bet it was around the time that like slavery was finally like, okay, we shouldn't be doing this. They found a legal type of slavery. I mean, they did the same things with the Black American community as they were, even though they were legally not slaves anymore, they abused them for, generations. And then whenever they started realizing like, okay, we're not really getting away with this as easy as we used to, they're like, oh, well, let's bring them in from other countries. Let's do it with like children and people from other countries. It's just ridiculous. So in the 60s, like when this first, I think if someone knows of a date before this, I don't know of a date before this, but when this first surfaced as essentially an issue in the U.S. was in the early 1960. And it was I loved it. There was this journalist, and his name was Edward Murrow, and he worked for, what's that news, starts with a C, is 3 letters, it's a news outlet, and is 3 letters.
CNN?
No, not CNN. I would remember that one.
CNBC is more than 3, let's see.
CBS, yes. So he worked for CBS, and he made this documentary called The Harvest of Shame, where he was just putting all this information out there about what was happening, what's currently still happening. At that point, here's a list of what he was able to broadcast. Because typically, it's like very much, many of these migrants are working like East Coast. So they'll move like, from Florida up to North Carolina, kind of like as a route. And so that's where he was located. He focused on that. Because there's also obviously like West Coast, California is huge with this. But this time he had reported, that families, including very young children, were picking crops for as little as $1 a day, that laborers were living in squalid housings, things such as shacks, tents, or in the back of a truck. There was lack of access to sanitation, education, and healthcare. And there was exploitive practices and systematic poverty that forced the workers to follow the harvest season year-round. They were stuck in this cycle of poverty because they literally... It was on purpose, the way they set it up. It reminded me somewhat of what was happening during the Depression in the 30s, whenever they were having all the dust storms and they were like, oh, everyone come out to California, we'll give you work, because there was no work. And it was this cycle of abuse. They were paying them just enough that they could survive each day, but they literally didn't have enough money to even leave that job and go somewhere else. And so they were doing essentially the same thing with the migrant workers, where they were giving them barely enough money to survive off of. So they knew, okay, at least we have food. This is horrible life. This is oppressive. We have sickness. We have lack of, at this point, almost none of these children were even able to go to school. And So they were just forced to stay in this cycle. I think it's a fair argument that it's still that way. They've tried to implement programs that help protect the farmers, but they, ultimately the government's going to protect the farmers, because when these farmers get found, okay, well, I'll get that in a minute. But he made this documentary really, it's old. It's, it's black and white. It's not great, like, quality, but I'll put a link for it. It was called The Harvest of Shame. And this guy was awesome. He had the to release this and put it on television on Thanksgiving Day. And everyone was so, like, ruined Thanksgiving. And I was like, perfect, because all of the food, like, that was amazing. Such a good move, on his part of, like, waiting and putting out on Thanksgiving Day. Because he was like, everybody's enjoying this off the backs of, this oppression. So that's like when it first kind of got really national and people were like, whoa, this is not cool, especially because this was during the civil rights movement. There was a lot of, advocates and people feeling that they had the voice and opportunity to go out and, advocate for things that they believed in. And so it brought up a lot. It was great. It had a good response, and politicians were kind of forced to do something at that point. And so in 1966, they started something called the MEP program. And there was many other programs in the 60s that were also implemented for protection of migrant farmers. But the MEP program specifically, which is still a program today, is the Migrant Education Program. So this was more so geared towards the children, to make sure that the children that were part of these migrant farm families were still receiving education, because they weren't. They were not receiving proper education. So this program was implemented to help, just make sure that those children were getting what they need. Here's like a basic video about MEP. I'm just going to watch this actually, because it can explain it better than me. So that's, the program is just making sure, because it's hard. Like, I don't know if any of you have ever experienced this. I have once had my daughter have to move schools mid-school year, and it was tough. Like, obviously, I am a very fortunate person that my daughter moving schools mid-school year was like a huge concern in my life. It was very difficult, transferring paperwork, like making sure there wasn't gaps of a lot of days between starting the new school. Imagine you moving like so many times during the year. On top of that, you're working, like you're getting up and working before school, you're working after school, you're exhausted, you're falling asleep in class. Often you don't even maybe speak English very well, especially, if your parents don't speak English and you're on the farm for most of your time. So, there's all of this involved with them. And I have heard arguments that, well, these children are illegal. We shouldn't be using our tax dollars to be paying for them to go to school. If you really truly believe that, like, you're a fucking horrible person. I'm what?
You're an oxymoron.
It's just the most ridiculous. And it's so sad. There's so much hate that there really are many people. I know people personally that truly believe, oh, these illegal kids are coming to our schools and taking up spots no, they're not taking up spots that your kids would be in. And they're probably only going to be at your school for a few months. And sadly, they're not going to even make much progress there, because they're constantly moving. And it's just such a bad cycle of abuse. I want to pull up actually. I have it here about the statistics on graduation. Okay, so just high school graduation rates, they believe that only between 45 and 60% of migrant farm children ever graduate from high school. They're typically, most migrant students are usually 1 year behind grade level. And it was less than 1% of children that grow up as migrant farmers ever go to college. Less than 1%. How is this not upsetting people? Like, these are children that are forced into labor. They're forced into slavery, and it's taking away their entire futures. Most of them don't graduate from high school. And if they do, it's not a great education because they're constantly being moved. And these children, like, I'm going to put all these links to all this data. These children are often considered like, oh, they're academically delayed or they're developmentally delayed. They'll just kick them into special ed when really all it is it's pure exhaustion because they're not sleeping. They're working physically like manual labor. They have lack of nutrition, lack of health care. Often they're probably malnourished. And when you're malnourished and you're not eating properly, your brain does not even function well. They're often falling asleep in class. They don't understand the language. And on top of that, they're constantly, what do you expect? Like, how do you expect a child to thrive in this environment? I mean, they can barely survive. They're dying, much less surviving. So the MEP program is a really awesome program. I want to just spend just a couple minutes like sharing a little bit of what MEP does. Let me pull up. IDR. Here we go. And there are a couple really great advocacy groups out there that are really trying, but I believe that it's the government that really pushes back on this because they don't want to admit that they have child slaves that are dying and they don't do anything about it. Okay. So here we go. MEP. It had their resources about us. Okay, the main goal of MEP is to ensure that migratory children and families would have access to and benefit from the same academic and educational opportunities as children who do not live. Here, I'm going to live in such highly mobile lifestyles. The mission and purpose of the Migrant Education Program is to serve educational needs of children of the migratory agricultural workers who experience negative consequences due to a highly mobile lifestyle. Not even mobile lifestyle, living conditions, dangerous, like no health access. There are language barriers, social isolation, and limited access to transportation and healthcare resources. Children who are eligible for MEP services benefit from support such as tutoring, educational assistance, advocacy, and awareness about important healthcare and health-related issues. So this program is really just trying to be the bridge between these children and the resources that they deserve and are entitled to, which is going to school, having access to medical care, having access to, if they need tutoring, all of those things that every child who is in America, every child in the world should have it, but every child in America is legally entitled to those things. Sorry, I just kicked the camera. Is it messed up? Okay. And it's so crazy because, I know firsthand stories of children that will try to enroll in schools and be told flat out, oh no, you're undocumented, you cannot enroll. That is not true. Like, there are laws that protect these children. And so that, it sounds crazy to have a whole division that has to deal with this, but they literally, the caseworkers or social workers have to go with the children, go to the school and pretty much tell them, no, you have to allow this child to be in the school. And often these children are not treated as fairly. There's, they don't even understand what we're saying. Just put them over there, or we don't want to deal with them. And it's horrible. It's terrible what these children are going through. I mean, all the farm workers are having a tough time, but it's terrible what the children, I mean, these are little children that this is happening to. So I'm going to pull up the big, beautiful bill. Like, just, it's gorgeous. It's like when you drink like a sugary drink full of like carcinogenic food dyes and corn syrup, and it says on top like natural and healthy. Big beautiful bill. So in the big beautiful bill, they are actually proposing huge budget cuts or proposing eliminating all funding, 100% funding to the MET program. What do you think about that? What do you think about that, Jamie? Do you say?
I mean, that's really tough to swallow. Cutting 100% of the funding to.
They just want to stop. There is a big chance because it's proposed to just eliminate the program entirely.
So it's just gonna make it even worse for them.
Well, I don't understand why you would eliminate that program. First of all, the fact that you even are allowing these children, and no one wants to touch on this subject. I don't care if it's left or right. No one will touch on the subject of these children because they're like, oh, well, we need it. We need somebody to be picking the vegetables. Somebody's got to do it. So why not children? You don't have to pay them as much. But on top of that, to be like, okay, the very little amount of protection they have, that I'm very grateful for the MET program, but still these children are being severely abused. They should not be in these situations. And the MET program, at least those people are like, okay, let's at least like make sure that they're learning how to read. No, let's take that away. More guns, more tanks, the big beautiful bill. I'm very upset about this. And people that know me, like, no, I'm not crazy. I don't believe in open borders. I don't like that. I don't believe in that. But this is like completely different. This is like they're here picking our food. So now let's look at what happens in some of the more severe cases. That when these farms are found, having 6-year-olds picking food. Okay. The Robert Nickerson's Farms has had some bad history around this. Just when was this? Yeah, they were cited, was found. And, it's like there's always more than what's found. What's found is just like, oh, man, we didn't get away with it today. Really. Because I'm sure, like, they went right back to it. Because all you do is they get a slap on the wrist. So the farm had 7 children that they found when they went out between the age of 9 and 13 that were illegally employed. The 13-year-old, 12-year-old, 11-year-old, 9-year-old. There was an 11-year-old who was employed, being paid on wage to set up gopher traps. The fine was given to the farm for $48,000. Nothing else happened. They didn't get shut down. They didn't get $48,000 for having child slaves. That's it. Nothing else happened. They did a recent study Frontiers Agriculture did this study. 15% of youth in agriculture are under the age of 10. under the age of 10. And their study said that they estimate that they believe there's 600,000 youth working in agriculture. So that's higher than the other ones, but there's at least, there's somewhere around 500,000 children in the U.S. right now. So the Department of Labor has some fact sheets around this. And so they say that children under the age of 12 can legally work outside of school hours and non-hazardous farm jobs. They don't follow these rules because constantly these caseworkers are being called that the children aren't in school, that they haven't been brought into school, and that also, they'll be doing jobs that they're not supposed to be doing, like setting gopher traps. And then in the summer, you can work as much as you want. So let me pull up, like I said, that. Okay. So Tyson Food, Tyson?
Yeah, big name.
Tyson also was cited for having children working at their food plants. Again, just a slap on the wrist. And they say, I'm going to pull up this article. There were over 100 children illegally employed in dangerous, meat packing facilities. Have you seen those places? Those places are dangerous. Like, they're very high on the list of like dangerous jobs. There was over 100 children working at this meat factory. The children were employed by Packer Sanitation Services Incorporated, a Wisconsin-based staffing agency that fills jobs in food services and agriculture industries on a contract basis. PSSI, who is owned by the Blackstone Group, and paid $1.5 million in penalties for the violations, and then went back to probably having children working in their factories. This is crazy. These are like Tyson. Everyone buys Tyson chicken from the store. Your Tyson chicken breast was probably cut by a 5-year-old. That's ridiculous. Alabama poultry plant could be closed for 30 days for hiring minors, allegedly. This is everywhere. There was some I found. Yeah, so Human Rights Watch, which is an organization that just, does a lot of human rights documentation. They said that when they did their investigations, they found children as young as 6 and 7-year-old working in the fields, doing long hours under hazardous conditions, missing school, exposed to chemicals, heats, and extremely heavy tasks. That is crazy. That is crazy. 6-year-olds. My God, why are people not upset about this? It's what do you say? Like, what do you say except, and the government just doesn't want to talk about it. They give everyone slaps on the wrist. It's like, okay, so this was this year whenever ICE has been doing a lot of raids. They did an ICE raid, actually 2 of them, on cannabis farms in California. And these farms were employing many underage people, which that's kind of like a double layer because you're dealing with a controlled substance that you shouldn't, you're not allowed to even, I don't think you're allowed to work on cannabis farms if you're not over the age of 21.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So this is like even a different subject like added on to it. And they were grabbing they were deporting these people that they were taking off the farms. And the cannabis farms, you just get this little penalty. And it's like, you got to pay this fee. They're going to keep doing it as long as they don't really, they're not getting really in trouble for it. They're going to keep doing it because it's cheap, easy labor. So, yeah, so right now, apart from the fact that we have children dying from providing us with our harvest, like our produce, they're also now being faced with the MET program being cut completely. They've already started cutting funds drastically. I know that has already been implemented with the ultimate goal of getting rid of the program. It's just hateful. That makes no sense to me. It's just hateful to get rid of a program that's supposed to be protecting these children that I mean, these kids are American because they spend their whole lives here. These are American children. And then on top of that, there's so many farmers that are like really scared right now to even be sending their children to school because they think like it's very unclear, you know, the current rules and laws around like all of the deportation. So many of them are scared to even send the kids to school. So the kids are working even longer hours. And then on top of that, now there's a lot of concern of, okay, are they actually going to come and deport us? I don't think they're going to deport them from the farms.
No, they don't.
I think they did the cannabis one to like make a point because also I think maybe the current, like the ICE people, they're pretty conservative. Maybe they don't like cannabis. I don't know. But I think that was because it was just 2 cannabis farms that they raided, which was still ridiculous. But I don't think that they're going to even do deportations on the farms because they need these people to be working there because they're not paying them. You know, they're the average. I don't believe that. I don't believe that for 1 second that they're getting $14.50 an hour. I don't believe that at all because I know firsthand, I know that whole way that they do these scams. And oh my gosh. Oh, okay. That movie, there is a movie. Oh my, I want to watch it again. I've watched it multiple times and it makes me cry. It's the most beautiful movie. You need to watch this movie. Please watch this movie. It's called A Million Miles Away. And it is a true story about, oh man, he has like, Jose Hernandez. It's just such a good visual understanding, and they did a great job of sharing his story and really like making you feel like, oh my God, I can't believe that these children are going through this and understand what their life is like. It's horrible. And Jose Hernandez was a migrant farm worker with his family growing up. And it started from his childhood showing, you know, just how hard every day was, where he was getting up before school and working in the field, and he would try to go to school and maybe he'd be late or he'd only stay at school a couple hours. He'd be sleeping, then he'd go home, and it's just a horrible lifestyle, constantly moving. And he had a dream of becoming an astronaut, which is like, you know, it's such... And he was like, he said, he's like, I'm American. Like, it's the American dream to like grow up and follow your dreams and be what you want. And it's the story of him becoming an astronaut and what he had to go through to get there. And he was the first and I believe only migrant farm worker to ever be an astronaut. And this is, I'm not, again, people, like, this wasn't 100 years ago. This is like, he's alive right now, telling this story. The movie just came out not that long ago. Let me see when this movie came out. Please watch this movie. Like, if you don't take anything else away from this episode, or you don't agree with it, or you don't really care, just watch this movie. It is such a good movie. Yeah, it came out in 2023. I love him. Michael Pena. He's such a good actor. That is a fantastic movie. I'll even put a link in there because please watch that movie, because if you're not getting the gravity of what I'm saying by sharing this content myself, this movie I think could help you understand it. And so this is a subject that I will continue to always be really vocal about and really care about, because it's unacceptable. It's horrible. It should not be happening. And it should not be happening here in America. Like, this is America. This is like supposed to be a country that is an example to all the other countries in the world. And we're horrible and we just hide it. So I just wanted to share. I could go on this subject. You can ask Giuseppe. I think I would, for hours. I could go on for hours. Anyone that wants to know more, please message me or call me. Like, I will talk to you about this for hours. I can send you information, resources, advocacy groups, all of this information. But I just wanted to get this is the basic surface, because there's a lot more. There's a lot, like, it gets crazy with even sex trafficking involved in it, because there's young girls coming on visas that they'll get approved for the visa saying that they're coming with their dad, but it's not their dad. It's actually like a pimp. So there's a lot of, like, this whole program is horrible. And I feel like the only people somewhat regulating it is MAP. Because MEP is really like, at least for the children, because they're getting in there and like, okay, you know, let me help you out with this stuff. And often they're able, through helping the children, to also be able to help the parents with certain things and understanding their rights. And they're wanting to eliminate that. There's something fishy going on there, apart from just blatant hatefulness and disregard for children and life. And it's horrible. But this gives you a basic idea of this is true. It's happening right now, and it's very upsetting. So I hope that I didn't lose you halfway through this episode, because I know it's not a nice thing to listen to, but I think it's something that everyone should listen to. It's very important. You need to understand that these things are happening. You know, people say, oh, it's America, everyone has an opportunity. They don't. Everyone in America does not have an opportunity, because this is happening right now. So please comment. If you have questions, like, I am an open person. Like, bring it on. Like, let me know what you want to know about. Let me know what you're curious about, what you want to learn about. Or maybe if you think that this is not true, or you think it's not, like, bring it up. I will talk to you about it. I will share footage with you. I will share information with you. And please, like, share this information, like, share this episode on your pages, so your other family, like, people need to know this. Everyone, like, I tell, like, it's so funny how, like, most people that I meet within a short period of time ultimately are going to hear me talk about this, because everyone needs to know about this. So please, if you don't share the whole episode, share the links that I put in there with people. Put it on your status. Like, this is happening right now. And with all of the political stuff happening right now, there's a lot of danger that this becomes worse than it already currently is. And we can't allow that to happen. Like, us people talking about this and showing that we're angry, being angry about certain things is good. And showing that we're angry about this is the only thing that can possibly help stop it. So please do that. Our next episode is going to be with my brother, Steven. And so I hope you come back for that. We're going to try to get back onto our regular, weekly, somewhat 7 to 10 days between episode postings. And I really appreciate you guys. Like, I'm really enjoying this. I like having a platform where I can share topics that I feel are really important. And I want you to also be a part of this. This isn't a me thing. So please, if you have a topic you want to talk about, if you have a story you want to share, if you want to come on here, like, send me a message. I'm open to, like, anybody coming on. Like, come on, tell me what you want to talk about. So I'll see you all guys, hopefully in the next week or so. And thanks for listening to my episode.